Hey y'all, ZingyTrades coming back with another video. Gonna be going over some names that I'm watching into next week. If you know, we have a long weekend. Good Friday market is gonna be closed tomorrow. So I'm gonna be doing some more research on other names that I potentially like, but at this very moment in time, based on scanner, etc., and what I've seen so far looking through, this is what I have found so far. So let's have a look. So the first one on the list is HPE, based on mostly the daily, but the weekly as well. What I have up is the daily. Let's just take a glance at this weekly. So what you can see we did a few weeks ago, back in February, is this low ended up taking out all of these other lows all the way back up until August of 2025. So I like that to start. And since then, all we've done is displace higher. We do have this trend line here as well. But if we zoom in to a daily basis, and if you've watched my other videos, you'll know one of the key pieces I'm looking at here is this market structure shift on the daily. Again, this is another one that had a break of structure to the downside, but after price took out all these lows, rather than displacing further to the downside, what did price do? Price reversed and went and made a new high. I would have loved an initial entry right here on the OTE retest of this daily imbalance. Unfortunately, I didn't see it a few days ago, so I did miss that entry. But what we did get today is we had a retest of this trend line, and while we did gap down from yesterday into today, what has price done? Rather than continuing to the downside off that gap down, we actually went outside day to the upside. So I'm watching this. Next up on the list is AMPX. If you watch the first video that I ever made, this was actually an example that I talked about in there, and I didn't catch it because of earnings. However, earnings passed us. There's a few things that I'm liking about this name. I don't know if we're quite ready yet, as we have some imbalances to the downside that I would like to fill, and an open gap that I would potentially like tested as well, which gives a substantially better entry. But if we talk about this from where we were last time, and if I fib this low to this high, all right, you can see where we bounced out of OTE now into a new high, which is now coming back to potentially retest daily OTE again. The one thing about this is on the weekly, I do think that we could potentially go a little lower for a better entry on this one, but it's setting up with a lot of the confluences that I like. We have the break of structure, we have displacement to the upside, and now we're slowly moving back down somewhere to retest. So this is on watch heading into next week. I don't know if we're going to dip further and then go, or if we decide to just go from here, but I'm watching it. We did reject previous day EQ, or previous day 50%, as well, as you see annotated there. So it gives me a little bit of an idea that potentially this wants to go down for maybe a little bit of a better entry. The next one on the list is Cisco, CSCO. This one is based just upon the daily time frame. You can see back on Tuesday the 31st, we had this low that ended up sweeping everything to the left of it, minus this established low right here. So we had that range sweep, which I do like. We also have this daily order block as annotated in blue, which we have held 50% of. And based on how price is reacting, we are moving to the upside off of that order block. This established low to this established high as well. If you draw out fibs, you can see that we are in a true discount for longs as well. So this is another one that I am watching headed into next week. Next up on the list is CXW, and we're looking at a really high monthly time frame right now, but that's just to show you what we did previously a couple months ago. This low did take out this entire range. We are still within a mother bar from 2024, and price has just been compressing within that mother bar for about a year and a half. So this one could take a little bit of time, not sure, but it's on my radar as a potential longer swing, if you will, or even shares. The other thing that we did on a weekly that I really like about this week is, number one, we're going to close as a failed 2 down, is we did come back into this weekly imbalance and wick out of it as well, which is great. And you can see we are back at that upper trend line as well. I have standard deviations on this one, and I also have OTE. You can see that this last low was within that OTE range, and what has price done since then? Price has moved up. we rebalance this weekly, we potentially go higher now. The daily is kind of doing the same thing as well. You can see that this gray box, this is that weekly imbalance, as well as the previous day 50 and the previous month 50, or EQ, right? And we are pushing off both of those, and we are also now above last week's EQ as well. I think this has potential to push higher. Look at how price is reacting out of that imbalance, looking really good there. I don't know how long it's going to potentially take, but this is kind of what I'm looking at for CXW based on this massive weekly and monthly compression. I think it just takes time to get there. Okay, so last but not least on my list of what I have looked at so far is we have CVS, and CVS is another one that is based on a weekly time frame. If I take this last established low to this swing high, and I put my fibs on for OTE, you can see we got real close to OTE as well as this weekly imbalance. We didn't quite get to the full thing, but we are now outside week to the upside with CCRP potential, a topic I'm going to talk about in a later video. The other thing I like about CVS is if we look over to the left, you can see we are testing previous highs as well. So potential support resistance flip here going on, paired with weekly OTE based on this range on an outside week. I like where we're headed. At the moment, that's what I've got going into next week as I run through some of my scans this boring Thursday afternoon. I hope y'all have a great long weekend, take some breaks from the charts, and I'll catch y'all next week.